to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Around any bend in any road, any time of the day or night, Central Hudson crews can be found working in the Hudson Valley. From Montgomery to Millerton, Freehold to Fishkill, and many points in between. We mark our work zones for safety's sake. As a driver, you can do your part too. Slow down, pay attention, put down the phone, and obey the flaggers. Be prepared to stop and maintain a safe distance from the vehicle in front of you. Safety matters.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, let's go, Brandon.
Okay. Oh, they're gonna take you off of YouTube.
No, they can't. That's why I say it every 10 seconds. They can't do nothing about it.
Good morning, Lawrence.
If I say what I did the last time that got us banned for a week, then it'll be, no, I can say let's go, Brandon. And we have an employee that works here. His name is Brandon. So I'm just saying let's go.
Yeah, and I know you've always been a fan of Brandon's.
Oh, yeah, big
your
fan.
employee. So. Good morning, Lawrence.
I thought what Greg Abbott did, even though I thought yours was funnier, but I thought what he did, with loading up the busload of people and bringing them right. He brought them to Capitol Hill, didn't he? Dropped them right off.
Dropped them off in
right.
front
I
of
saw him
Capitol Hill.
he was there personally, right?
I did not see him there personally. I saw other people.
I saw the people coming off the bus. They were like,
the one video I saw, they were being greeted, hands, hugs, and bands on their wrists clipped off and released. And some of them said they were just going directly. Now, this is from Fox News, so who knows what's accurate. Right. You watch Fox News, you watch CNN somewhere.
I watch CNN. I do what you do because
somewhere the truth is in the middle.
They're also owned by, the Rupert Murdoch owns Fox News. He also owns New York Post. So I can't get my news from the same. I got to switch it up.
I read the Times and the Wall Street Journal. And somewhere among all four,
you're going to find the real
truth.
You'll be able to find the truth in there. So you'll be able to decipher it for yourself, which I think your theory on that is good. And I tell you, 2 years ago, I couldn't even turn CNN on. Now I can listen to them.
CNN's coverage of the war in Ukraine has been excellent.
Oh, my God. Yeah, way better than Fox's has.
And they really, it seemed in the coverage of Ukraine, they've managed to keep a lot of the politics out of it, where they don't on other issues.
No.
So, but for for the war in Ukraine. It's been great. And I think Greg Abbott, Governor Abbott, did a good thing. I think they ought to build that wall. They're doing it with Texas money. Finish the wall.
Yeah.
But as I said before coming on air with you, instead of having the individuals who are here illegally, and the term is illegal, anyway, having them delivered to Washington, I think they ought to deliver them to Rehoboth Beach in Delaware, because there's going to be
in the backyard.
There's a better chance. No, that would not be.
That
safe.
would
just bring them to Rehoboth Beach in Delaware generally, because I think there is a stronger chance that you'll find the president at his vacation home in Delaware.
Oh, yeah, because
then you'll find him in Washington.
38 times?
40, I think they said 48 weekends.
And he hasn't even been in office that long, but,
Well,
he is old.
Year and a quarter? Don't
exactly.
Don't look at me after I had my 69th birthday and say, yes, he is old.
He is old, but anyway,
that's
on to more pressing things. So it was funny when we were talking about this when we came in this morning, the guy who turned himself in, but the NYPD was taking credit for hunting him down. Like, the guy called you from the East Village.
Yeah, I know. I was really happy to hear that Chief Tinty is coming in as our 8:30 guest. He called me back yesterday, and so hopefully this time he'll bring some maple syrup for me.
But if he doesn't, I have a couple of his bottles.
No, that's okay. I hope he doesn't, so I can tease him about it. But I'd like to discuss with Chief Tinty the ghost gun issues, the bail reform issues. It's hysterical. If you take a look, Lawrence, at statistics, depending upon what media source is releasing it, or whether or not it's the Freeman reporting on Assemblyman Cahill and what he has to say about recidivism for people that have been released on bail. I think it was the New York Times or the Albany Times Union that had the release people on bail under the new Bail Reform Act at 2% of the people committed new crimes, and the New York Post had it at 46% of people released. So, I mean, statistics are horrible, but the simple reality is whether it's 2% or 46%, assuming the interpretation of the statistics by the Albany Times that it's 2%, that's 2% of 100,000 people.
Yeah.
And 2% of those people that were released under the new Bail Reform Acts committed new violent crimes.
Right.
So
they shouldn't even have been out in the street.
What's 2% of 100,000?
A lot.
It's got to be about 400 people, correct?
Yeah.
And my math has never been
Now, what's 40% of
400 people committed new crimes, new violent crimes. And if it's 46%, so you just once, being retired now, I'm able to follow reports in the media much greater and listen to politicians, listen to the police commissioner yesterday talk about, and the police did a good job, but how wonderful the work was in arresting Mr. James, when in essence we later learn, after she gave the wonderful glowing report about how they got a Crime Stopper tip, and as a result of that Crime Stopper tip, they were immediately able to locate him, and we got him. Yeah, well, the Crime Stopper tip came from the defendant himself, the suspect. He called in, said, I'm at McDonald's, swing by.
Exactly, in the East Village.
Why can they not be more honest? Every time I hear President Biden talk about the status of the economy, he's doing a wonderful job. The economy's been great. Yet, inflation has never been higher.
Yeah,
Why can't they just stand up and tell the truth?
Yeah.
We seem to have lost that ability, not just in politics, in law enforcement across the board.
I hear you.
Well, that was good. An early morning vent I got to do, so that's great.
That's what we do. We get it off our chest before 7:15.
Before I vent at my friends. The good part is I can vent at my friends. I no longer vent at lawyers, Lawrence. So, what else is in? Oh, the mask. Dr. Fauci's back. Lazarus has returned.
Great.
Yeah, he's back now.
He changes his mind every.
The president has extended the mask requirements on flights. And Dr.
Yeah,
Fauci,
just what you say. Now it's till it was supposed to end in the end of March 31st, and they extended it to April 19th. Now you said they added 2 weeks onto it.
It's according to the Freeman.
Damn.
And that's, let me put it this way, I would not cite the Freeman in any legal material I'd write.
You know what?
I would
I'll
not
take a look on the
footnote
Kingston
them.
Wire. They're a little more
However,
reputable.
under the Freeman, which might have been...
I fly again May 20th. I was hoping that it would be lifted again by that, but personally, I've flown about, like we were talking about this before we got there. I've probably flown at least 18 times during COVID. I've been in 10 different states, and I have no problem with wearing it when we're in the airplane, but at least we don't need to wear it when we're in the terminal. But as soon as we get onto the jetway, I think I might still wear a mask because, people are coughing and kids are,
they say that
usually packed.
They say
but now that inflation, I mean, the price of plane tickets, it used to, for me to fly to Florida, used to be cheap. I mean, like $250 round trip. I went and looked yesterday just for a flight because I'm, thinking about buying one for the middle of July, end of July. So I just wanted to just happen to take a peek and see what the prices are. I was like, it's $630. That's because of inflation. I'm like, well, I think I'm going to wait till August now because what's the point?
Wow.
I mean, I've already got my tickets secured for other trips that I had bought, but I had bought them back in January, and they were, cheap. But I noticed the last time I went down, even the Uber... using Uber is expensive. It's like double the price to get back and forth to the airport, and it's because of gas and stuff like that.
My daughter just returned from France. She's working in France, southern part of France. Sounds gorgeous.
Nice.
She said the cost of everything in France is dramatically less than it is here, which a bottle of wine, French wine, average a typical bottle, which is not terribly good, she says is like $3 or $4.
Really?
The good stuff, she said, real good stuff. Now, I'm sure she's not talking about the highest end French wine, but the good stuff, $6 to $10 for a bottle of wine.
That's probably because it's made there. That might have something to do with it.
She said she eats, if she were to eat in the United States, the food that she's eating now in France, she would have gained about 30 pounds. She eats bread, cheeses, butter. Everything is fatty. But she said it's all comes from farms close by. She's never felt healthier. She's lost weight.
Preservatives. Yeah, that's great.
So anyway.
God, the south of France is nice.
South of France is nice.
That's where the Cannes Film Festival is and all that. That's like... Yeah, that's nice.
The Riviera itself, Monaco.
Yeah, the Riviera. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think she's staying in the Riviera or Monaco.
But you still can go visit it, though.
First, I want to go to Italy, Lawrence.
Yeah,
it's been my dream to visit.
We went out to dinner with him. Remember, Cam? Yeah, he just got back from a ski trip. He went to Bordeaux, where he flew into Milan.
Bordeaux, where the French wines are.
Is it
Bordeaux? Bordeaux is in France.
It started with a B. It's where the next Winter Olympics are going to be held.
Oh,
that mountain. He went skiing to that mountain, and he showed me some of the pictures. I mean, it was amazing. But he went with a group of people over, and another friend of ours went, Tom Murphy, and they had a blast, man.
Tom Murphy, the lawyer?
No, there's like 8 Tom Murphys. No, Tom Murphy, the banker. He works at M&T.
Okay,
there's Tom Murphy that works with Cook, Tucker, Netter. Well, Frank Tucker's dead, but Cook. Netter, those guys.
There's good law firm.
There's Mike Murphy's the guy, the realtor.
Also significant contributors to the fund.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I should try to get one of them on.
Yeah.
Tom's a funny guy.
Yeah, he is.
I think Bob.
I'm sure you're going to get a call back from Joe O'Connor. I'm sure he's going to call back. Vince is scheduled next week for 8 a.m.
Having both Vince Bradley and
Joe
O'Connor
Vince is looking
together.
forward to it. He's like, that'd be great. I was like, you guys can have the whole hour together. Because it would be like comedy hour. I'll even sit in on that.
And next time,
the two of them are really good friends.
Yeah. Next time you see Vince, tell him to mention to Joe. Well, I have a call in for Joe.
Usually, I see Joe more than I see Vince because Joe works right in the corner of Maine. He lives right.
Well, something. The best way we can get Joe on is if you see Joe, mention that I'm still waiting for his call back to get him on the show, and if he doesn't return the call soon, I'm going to go back on the bench. and make his
Maybe
life
he's still
miserable.
holding the grudge from that time that you gave
Joe
up.
is a great lawyer.
He is. He's a really good lawyer.
Great lawyer, and
He's a good guy.
When he appeared, he would appear occasionally in front of me, and he always prepared, make good arguments.
No, he's a great
very
guy.
respectful.
And how generous was he this year to the Happy Christmas Fund?
Well, that's because I think everybody hit him up.
Everybody, and I was like, geez, I don't know if I should send him a letter next year. When you came in, you were like, every person that asked him, he gave the same amount. And I was like, when I finally went to go do the thank you notes, I had to go through every single one of them. I'm like, holy cow, this guy gave just as much as some of the local banks.
And I have to admit, I hate asking for money. This is a really good cause, the Happy Christmas Fund. But I hate asking people for money. I was never allowed to when I was a judge.
Right.
But so at first when I retired and you said, geez, you can do this stuff, it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Contacting all these people that can afford to do it. It's great. It's for great.
No, this year it's November 3rd, and we're going to do it here. We just had our first meeting last month. We have our next meeting in 2 weeks on April 27th, and Bob Circasano's this guy comes up with all the greatest ideas.
Yeah, he's a solid guy.
Yeah, we're gonna have it here this year. My mom's gonna cook some food. And it won't be as cold. Remember how cold it was last year? We were freezing our tush off. So Sally Ward has since retired. So it was a little cold there last year, and it's a long day for me. It's like a 14-hour day for me. I got to get up at like 4 a.m, go down there, set everything up. By the time I get, you remember when we went to dinner after the thing last year, I was exhausted. I mean, I was sleeping by like 9 o'clock last year. So this year, all I got to do is come here, turn a switch on, and that way, Dan's not sitting here for 10 hours by himself because Dan's got to be on the board. So I can have Dan answer. I have more people.
Oh, I'd forgotten it. So you have Dan back here?
Yeah, I got to have someone in the studio to send the signal to. Yeah, we just did our first KCR breakfast a couple weeks back.
Yeah,
we did it at the Elks Lodge. We had about 80 people. Obviously people show up, they leave because it's a Tuesday morning. People are going to work, but we had about 80 to 90 people show up.
Lawrence, how did
Juan Figueroa showed up? He was great.
The sheriff is a good
Cahill
guy.
showed up. Both the Medical Monday doctors showed up. Stanberg, Robin Baker, Ed Alios showed up.
That's a great show.
Yeah, they showed up. As long as they're not talking about bunions, and then I gotta, then I flick it over. But this week, I think,
you get to be my age, Lawrence. You'll understand what bunions are.
And I'm done with hearing about COVID. Stanberg hasn't talked about that much lately.
What are their specialties?
Stanberg is a primary care physician, so he can talk about anything. This week they were talking about prostate and stuff like that. Yeah.
You should have had me as a guest.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had my primary care physician, Dr. Samsak Bidiakal. I love him. Yeah, but he's 81. He retired, so I had to get a new one. I'm now seeing Dr. Moss. Dr. Bidiakal was excellent. Dr. Moss is superb. We have good area doctors.
Yeah. Well, I had Joe. I'm sure it was Joe Masseri. Every one of your doctors.
Killer?
Yeah, Joe.
He was my dad's doctor. Joe Masseri used to come to my.
Now I grew up. Well, I grew up on Mountain View and Pearl, so Joe was on Bergman Street. So Joe and Ellery and my mother and father were good friends. That we went to Cal-Bar together. That I used to hang out with Eric. Eric was a couple years older than me, but you grow up playing. With always over there, or they were over here. So Joe, was. Joe was Joe.
Joe is brilliant.
He was the best, though.
He's brilliant, and he was a very good
still
doctor.
In Florida, right?
I believe they are. He's
got to be pushing 80 now, right?
He would come and do house visits.
Yeah,
to see my dad.
He used to go to the jail on Sundays and read. Now Ray Guerin does it now, but he used to do mass for the inmates on Sundays.
Yeah, he was a deeply religious person.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Every time I would go to visit,
the first thing he'd say when you come in, I remember one time I went in for a visit. When's the last time you've been to confession? I'm like, Joe, I don't know. Well, then we're going right now because remember his office.
I'm surprised he didn't try to take your confession.
He did. He dragged me right into the confession book. I'm like, dude, I got to go back to work. He's like, not until you go to confession. I'm like, and then he remember when his office was right next to St. Joseph's, the yellow building, where right next to the.
I have been there. In there. Used to bring my mom and dad there. Yeah, Joe is Joe. There was a period of time my dad was not doing well. He had 2 strokes. Ultimately died after the 4th, but he had 2 strokes. He was seeing Joe. My mom got this huge growth in the area of her private parts. And she would not, Italian, she would not let Joe do a biopsy. You open me up, it spreads. That was the theory. So I recall seeing Joe about my mom, and he said, Don, he looked at me, and there was almost tears in his eyes. He goes, Mom's not going to make it long. I said, oh. So I tried to keep a sense of humor about one of the most tragic things that can happen in your life. And I said, well, how's Dad doing? Dad's doing, he goes, your dad is aces. Everything looks great. A month later, my dad passed.
Oh, God. And your mom lived, what,
my mom lived for another 12 years.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because my mom had an uncle, Uncle Babe, we used to call him, because he used to love the Yankees. And I was like probably 10 or 11 or 12. I was definitely young. I wasn't, even a teenager yet. And Joe goes up to my mom, and she goes, this, because, he was all my mom's side of the family either worked on a tugboat or they had something to do with tugboats. So her uncle, her father worked on a tugboat, her uncles, whatever, everybody worked on a tugboat. So Uncle Babe smoked cigarettes, back then they didn't even have filters back then.
Right. Yeah,
it was cups of coffee, cups of tea,
my dad
cigarettes.
smoked Lucky Strikes and Camels.
Yeah. So Joe Masseri tells my mom, he's got 6 months to live. Guy lives for another 30 years.
But he
had those Coughlin genes, I think he even kept smoking for like another 5 or 10 years.
My mom too, a heavy smoker. My dad also, but so much of it is genetic, and you can help the cause, but so much of it is genetic. So
that's funny that you said. That's so funny. You say, "Oh, your dad's healthy.
Dad's doing great.
He's dead in a month.
Within
mom
a month,
for 10 more years. That's
12
great.
more years. My mom lived. She was quite.
Your mom was a sweetheart.
I think I told you, Lawrence. She used to, when I was a young assistant, and Kevin, I was the DA. Tried a lot of cases. John Prizzi and I would take to jury trial between 8 to 12 a year. That's each person. Now an assistant DA might get one trial a year. So we would try 8 to 12 cases a year. My mom used to come to them, which was both encouraging but a little embarrassing at times, especially...
She used to come to every single trial?
She used to come to every... She lived a quarter of a block away, so she'd come to the trial.
And she also walked around uptown. Your mom was uptown.
But at some point, I had to pull her aside. I said, Mom, it's great having you here. The support's really good. When you get focused on a summation or something, you don't even realize who's there.
Right, you're in a zone.
But I said, it's great having you here. It really is. I said, but please, could you do me a favor? You can't applaud during my summation.
If you're doing an opening argument, she's in the back, standing on the...
She goes, I didn't do it until you were done. I said, yeah, it's still...
It's in the court of law.
Judge vote.
What would the judge do?
Judge vote loved her, so he never said a word. But he did say, you might want to tell your mom not to clap. So, but
who would have known? A double major in philosophy and history. Right?
History and philosophy,
History and philosophy.
There was nothing else to do other than teach philosophy or go to law school. Lawrence.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's right. I haven't seen you in 3 weeks. What'd you think about your buddy there leaving St. Peter's, the guy, and going to Seton Hall? That's a good move for them.
Shaheen Holloway was a star at Seton Hall.
Yeah.
And just I think he's like 5'10".
Yeah,
so
he's a little dude.
He was a fighter.
Yeah, a point guard,
and
right?
What point guard? And he averaged a whole lot of points. He was great at Seton Hall. Number of assists. I used to follow them. That's my alma mater for people that don't know, undergraduate school. But he now, the coach went on to another area. Kevin Gilfeather, who probably knows all about this stuff.
Join the conversation.
So now Shaheen Holloway, who took St. Peter's all the way to was it the quarterfinals?
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16, which is like the quarterfinals.
No, I think did they go to the Elite Eight or did they lose in the Sweet 16?
I think they won.
I think they went to
Sweet 16. They made the Elite Eight.
I actually had them in my bracket beating Kentucky, but then
he now is the Seton Hall, my alma mater, the Seton Hall coach. I am really excited.
Yeah, no, they should be good.
And I know the guy we had before was a very good coach, but Shaheen Holloway is a special guy. He'll be able to recruit. In fact, I don't know how much you ever followed Seton Hall, Kevin. We have Kevin Gilfeather here. Good to see you again.
Always good to be here. Thanks, Don.
Yeah, so he,
Kevin?
And Kevin, people who know you also know that you used to head the Rex department for the city of Kingston, and you were a defensive back, were you not, in college?
In high school, I played defensive back.
Yeah, and I knew the stories, but that was from a long time ago.
Yeah, it was.
But I mean,
45 years ago.
I knew. Now, I didn't know you when you played defensive back. However, when Seton Hall turned the corner years ago, I don't remember exactly what year, and they had a great recruiting year. They had a 5-star, forgotten his name. They had a couple of 4-stars. Holloway was one of the people that brought these players into Seton Hall. So he probably will be able to do this again. So I'm excited.
Yeah, well, he's a big name, and he's obviously he had success and captured the whole country when it came to the NCAA tournament.
Exciting to see kids playing for him from a small school. In fact, I think his salary was reduced. He had to take a cut in salary that year to stay at St. Peter's. Yeah, I think he ended up making about $225,000. All these other college coaches are making millions of dollars. He took a cut in salary to stay. He's just a great guy, and he can get the most out of these kids. Plus, he's from the streets. He's from the hood. And he can relate to some of the people in New York City and in Newark and other of the large metropolitan areas to get the kids in. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. What's up with you, and what's going on in your neck of the woods?
What's going on? Well, things are, granted, we've had some of the most beautiful days here in the last couple of days, and you want to say that we are going to get into spring, but even on Easter Sunday, it'll be a beautiful sunny day, just a little beautiful sunny cool day.
So how cold is it going to be?
Low 50s? Especially after having yesterday, today, and
you've been around here, the Kingston area, for a long time. We used to have spring.
We did.
Spring used to start sometime in March, carry through to beginning of May, mid-May, and spring would be 50s, high 50s, low 60s, mid 60s. Now we go from 30 to 40 to 70.
Right.
There's nothing in between, and I really miss. You have to acclimate to the heat that's coming.
I was watching the news this morning and out of New York on Channel 4, and the weather person was indicating that today it could reach 80, and they haven't reached 80 since early September last year.
80, and your body's not ready for this.
No, it's hard to acclimate.
And then it's definitely not ready if it's going to be 80 Thursday, Friday, and then Sunday 50.
Right.
That's a 20 to 30 degree drop.
Yep.
See how quickly I figured that math out, Kevin?
That's good.
Pretty amazing. Huh?
I thought you were a math major.
I was not. That's the reason I went to law school. I couldn't. Math was not. I did take statistics for one semester. Did well in statistics. I don't know why, but no, math was not my. Not what I was put on this earth to do. I was a double major, Kevin. I was history and philosophy.
Did you go to law school at Seton Hall or
I went to Seton Hall undergraduate school and went to Albany Law School. Yeah. If you want to practice in New York State, Kevin, at that time especially, Albany Law School was the place to go. And the main reason was, I'll try to keep this brief because I'm sure it's probably boring to everybody, the bar exam, which is torture, and it's 2 days, it's brutal. The bar exam back then, when I went to law school, was done completely on New York state law. Now the bar exam for people still that are in New York is called multi-state. So they question you about the law in various states, not just New York State. When I was going, it was completely New York state law. So if you go to Albany Law School, you want to go to Harvard Law, have fun.
Yeah.
Because you're learning everything, model penal law, all across the nation. You go to Albany, the books you use, New York State penal law, New York State criminal procedure law, real property law, it's all New York State. in your classes every day.
Yeah.
So by the time you got done getting your degree and about to take the bar exam, you have been preparing for the bar exam your 3 years at law school. People coming in from other large universities like Harvard or any of those law schools, they didn't have that advantage. So the passing rate when I was there for Albany Law School graduates on the New York State bar examination, the passing rate was like 94%, which is unheard of. So in essence, a lot of people go to Albany Law back then especially. Now it's probably just a matter of convenience, you know.
Sure.
I couldn't afford to go to law school now, Kim. Couldn't afford to go to law school then either, but thanks again to Ron Woods and the Kingston Recreation Commission hired me to teach tennis.
Yes, he did, yeah.
And, tennis, I taught tennis, first at IBM, and then ultimately for the Parks. Started the National Junior Tennis League, which was a great thing, bringing tennis to areas of the city of Kingston that those kids never saw a tennis racket. I remember doing it at Block Park.
Oh, yeah.
And yet helped me pay for my law school education.
Yeah, Ron's quite a guy and a good friend, and we were hoping to get together for coffee this week, but he called yesterday and says, I'm just not feeling 100%. I think I'll take, we'll get together next week. So
Ron went, after I retired from the judgeship, I went to an event that Modelli Clark did, and Reverend Childs, who I have great respect for these guys, worked closely with them, and Ron Woods showed up. And now Modelli Clark and Jim Childs were honoring me for being there.
Yeah.
And Jim Childs said, and this guy was not just a good district attorney and a good judge, he was one hell of a basketball player. Ron Woods knew me. He said he was not that good. So I said, thank you, Ron.
Let me bring this down to
humility is a wonderful thing. So what else is going on?
Quickly, just speaking of Ron, you know, a lot of times when we go out for coffee, we tend to take a ride because he just likes to get out, and many a time we go up by always to Forsyth Park, and always up. He goes, let's see if Don's car is in his driveway.
Ron's in fact, Ron back then, Kevin, and I'm sorry, I want to make this about what you do, but Ron Woods is a special person. Ron was the chairman of the Liberal Party back, we're talking 1975, 1971. I think the Liberal Party in the city of Kingston had 12 members. But I remember Ron was a great influence on me. I came from a conservative family.
Sure.
My dad was a frogman in World War II, so it was very conservative. But I wanted to join the Liberal Party. And he said, no. I said, why not? And he said, you don't know what you want to do with your future. I said, I have no chance or interest in politics, Ron. He goes, no, don't do this because you never know what your political persuasion will be later. And as a result of that, I didn't join the Liberal Party, which 20 years ago was a black mark if you're running for office in Ulster County. Now you're a hero, for God's sakes.
Right.
Ron Wood's a special guy.
Yeah, he's a special guy, and been good friends with him for, it's got to be 25 plus years now. So I just looking at the paper there and seeing about the booster. I happened to said,
read that.
Last night it's 6:50. I said, maybe I'll go up and I'll get. Unfortunately, I didn't sign up for an appointment.
Are you talking about the shot?
The second booster.
Second booster, yeah, I'm undecided, but go ahead, please.
And so I got up to the old Best Buy store, and I said, what time is your appointment? I said, I didn't make one. I was hoping I would just be able to be a walk-in. They said, we're all out of boosters. So now I see it in the paper today that the boosters are they were out. So
I haven't decided. I've had all my shots and the booster. I haven't decided about this second booster.
Yeah.
What do you know about it?
Well, I don't know a great deal because I asked my wife and I said, has the hospital provided? And she goes, I haven't gotten it yet. And I said, should I get it? She goes, well, probably because of conditions I have that I should. And
you're type 1, correct?
Type 1.
Type 1, my son, Colin,
Right,
type 1 diabetes.
right.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, and I even asked my endocrinologist when I was last with her she goes, yes, when you get the opportunity, get it. But I kept, I was waiting, and I wanted to hear a little bit more, and so now I have to wait till April 23rd. That's the next time they're offering.
Wow. Well, that's not that bad. That's
No.
And but when was your booster? Was it 6 months ago?
It was in October that I had my first booster.
I think that's right around, I think I was October, November, something like that. And I just haven't decided yet. I mean, this new variant, which, it's amazing. The new variant, is it worse than the flu? The hospitalizations are way down.
Yeah.
Now, is that because many of us have natural immunity and or
the vaccine's
vaccine?
Already, yeah.
Or is it because this particular variant doesn't have the tremendous side effects? I mean, Dr.
But it travels through communities faster.
But so does the flu.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, let's make some comparisons to what is out there. Because how many times, maybe it's going to be like getting the flu shot every year, which is okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
At this point, I'd like to know a little bit more. And I have some complicated medical. Kevin, you get to be around my age, for God's sakes. You're going to have these issues.
No, Don, I think I've surpassed you in age.
No. You look how old are you?
I'll be 63 in...
Kevin, I just turned 69.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
well...
I got you. I thought you were younger than I am. You look a lot younger, for God's sake. So,
Just the age of our kids, I was trying to compare that with...
Well, remember, I managed to stay single because I really, my life was being an assistant DA. That was it.
Yeah.
Managed to stay single until I was 38. 38.
Wow.
So, and
Okay.
then, had Colin shortly thereafter, real shortly thereafter. So, yeah. So no, 63. You're a young kid.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I feel it, and sometimes you.
Wait till you get to be the ages when you start feeling the body break down, especially if you played a lot of sports. Those injuries, you suck it up back then. Those injuries have a way of catching up on you. So
right.
60 was the beginning when I could feel the body. Suddenly I get tendinitis or bursitis in this side, the other side, the knees. But 65, it really kicks in. And you got 2 more years to me. You got a lot to look forward to, Kevin. But you stay in good shape. That's the most important thing.
I try. You could always do a little bit more, but, you try and...
My exercise when I was on the bench for 10 years literally was walking from chambers to the bench, from bench to chambers. And for lunch, John Prizzi and I, my court attorney, would walk across Wall Street to get a coffee and walk back to chambers. That, by the time I got home, Kevin, it was ready to sit in the recliner and be entertained, but or get called out. But so no, it was put a lot of weight on. It was not good. So little by little. What are you doing to stay active now?
Well, I mean, granted, when we have walk in the neighborhood, get on the bike and ride. I work out at 2-3 days a week. Do some strength training at Planet Fitness. So
it's a reasonable amount of money. They don't charge a hell of a lot.
No, it's very affordable. And if you build up so many points, and you can actually have a month off of payment. Not that $10 is a lot, but it's
when you get to be a little older, it all adds up quickly. So $10 is good.
So do that, and having two grandchildren that when we're together, they keep us active.
How old are the grandkids?
Jack is 3.5, and Connor is 15 months.
I was going to name Colin Connor. My wife and I were going to do that. And the last minute we decided on Colin. Connor's good. I was concerned that people would be calling him Connie.
Mm-hmm.
However, in today's environment, that may be a benefit rather than a detriment. So, anyway. So what's going on in the business aspect?
Well, our Lions Club is we're still active. We're and our foundation is still meeting and as 501c3s apply for funding for equipment or needs in that manner, we are granting awards for various businesses. We met Monday night and agreed to provide a grant to help a company that for a water filtration. Water filtration.
The water filtration system?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It was easy for you to say with
I
a
had a
mouthful of
mouthful of
donut
food,
there, Lawrence.
So we provided funding so that it could help that business out, and we've helped People's Place out. We've helped.
How is People's Place doing? Is that Mike Hines'
Christine?
wife?
Christine.
How is People's Place doing? Are they still receiving a lot of things from people? Has COVID impacted them also?
Well, I know that when I was up there, November, December timeframe, to bring some stuff up there, they were busy, and people were very generous of giving.
Yeah.
Of giving to them, and they appreciate it. It is.
How do they distribute the gifts, the donations that they get? Is there any? Is it just whoever comes first serve? How does that?
I think
work?
that's how it works. I couldn't tell you specifically how that is, but we provided them with People's Place with 2 AEDs.
What's an AED?
Automatic defibrillator.
Oh, okay.
And one they could have
That's
downstairs, and one they could have upstairs because they do programs and fitness programs upstairs in their building. And so Lions Club Foundation was very happy to provide them with.
What does something like that cost? Do you know? A defibrillator? That's hard.
It was about $3,500 for the 2 of them.
That's not inexpensive. That's but definitely needed.
Right. And another one we did recently was the Habitat for Humanity, Ulster County Habitat for Humanity. We provided they do designs on homes for people, yet they have to go out to another location to be able to do it. So we provided them with the computer software and the big printer to be able to do that, and they are very happy with that.
They design residences or
places they're rehabbing.
Understood.
So that the new owner.
Habitat for Humanity did that. I know they take in. I donated a few years ago when my wife passed. I donated some significant furniture there.
Yes.
They came to the house and picked it up, which is I had no way of delivering. This is big stuff, and I received a significant tax deduction for it. Nowadays, you can't take anything, which is sad for charities and not-for-profits. But it was great. But I thought that's principally what they do. They also
when they obtain a piece of property and whether there's a structure on it or not, or there is if there is a structure and person wants to invest in, they will help design what it could be like. So
wow, that's fantastic.
This is what we were able to help them with, and again, just very appreciative of.
Yeah, you've got great people with Lions. Is Doris?
Oh yeah,
quite a character.
Lawrence, is Doris still with us?
What?
Is Doris still involved with us? Yeah,
Dory
94.
Dory was one of my first employers when I was in college. He was at IBM, and I worked there one summer doing computer chips. It was the graveyard shift. I forgot, like 11 o'clock to 7 in the morning, and Dory was somehow influential in getting me the job. And then ultimately I started working for Leon Randall and Bill Du Bois at the Recreation Center, teaching tennis. Yeah. I had never touched a tennis racket, Kevin.
Oh, no?
No, you may remember, you're still younger, but when I was in school, you played basketball, baseball, and football.
Right.
That was it.
Yeah.
Only the people that couldn't make the teams did things like, or if you were independently wealthy, you played golf, which we were not. but you didn't play tennis. In fact, we wrongly used to look down upon the people that played tennis. So I didn't pick up a tennis racket till I blew my knee out my senior year in high school after the season was over. And Ron Wood said, as I'm rehabbing, he said, come on up and play some tennis with me. I started playing tennis. Next thing I know, after reading a Billie Jean King book about how to teach tennis, the next summer I was teaching at IBM. And look, I was no Bill Zay or Pete Zay or any of those guys, but I'm good at teaching. So that was a blast. What a way to work. In fact, after I worked for IBM, I went to work for Andy Murphy, Mr. Murphy. He hired me. It was while I was teaching at IBM. I would go down at 6 a.m. to Kingston Point Beach, mow lawns, clean out toilets, everything possible. And then at 12 o'clock, I would leave the Kingston Point Beach, travel out to the rec center. From 12 to 5, I would teach tennis, which was like a mini vacation.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock, I'd go back to the Kingston Point Beach and lifeguard till closing. And, that it was a whole lot of work, but I managed to make a lot of money, and it was a blast.
Yeah.
It was an absolute blast.
Murph was a character, that's for sure.
A great man, and knew my dad well, so maybe that had something with him. But he was very happy. He said, when I told you that you had to be here at 6 and I want you working, I'd get there at 6 and there weren't a lot of people there that maybe should have been there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd take a scythe out and I'd start doing the high grass. He'd come down 6:30, 7 o'clock and see me. So I made him happy.
Yeah,
what
good.
a great man.
Yeah, I used to, Ron Woods and I and Murph and Joe McGrain.
Joe McGrain. Gosh,
trying to think, there were Jack Doyle. There were probably 6. I mean, these were obviously.
Joe Manello was involved at one point.
Joe is still, Joe and Ron still
are involved as commissioners? Or?
Well, Joe is still. He tends to drive Ron around a lot. He's good.
Joe's quite a character.
Yeah,
he's a pretty good tennis player, pretty good golfer,
and a bowler, from what I understand.
He's very close friends with Steve and Dave Ferraro. And
right.
Dave Ferraro.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
It's hysterical. I was laughing before because when I was growing up, you played baseball, basketball, and football. If you didn't do at least one of those sports, you weren't a real athlete. There's an example. Dave Ferraro was a bowler, and he was a tremendous bowler, probably still is. And you would say, come on, it's bowling, go tackle somebody or hit a baseball. Or Dave Ferraro is one of the finest athletes. You ever see him hit a golf ball?
No.
It's amazing. He's just a great athlete, great hand-eye coordination, strength that you wouldn't imagine because he's not built like a brick manure house, but there's an example. Great bowler.
Yeah,
we had some tremendous athletes. Mike Ferraro that played for the Yankees. We had some tremendous athletes come out of this area, Kingston.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why that is. What is it about? I guess maybe because if you have one or two people that have great success, everybody wants to emulate them when you're a kid. Where are you from originally? You're not
Red Hook.
I thought it was further away. For some reason, I was thinking Rochester or someplace like that.
Grew up in Red Hook, and my mom is still living there in the same house that I grew up in, and she and my dad had a great life together until he passed in July
of this year, Kevin.
Yes, this past July.
Sorry.
No, thank you.
How old was he?
He was 13 days shy of his 90th birthday.
That's a good age, though.
Yeah.
That's a good age.
Yeah. In fact, one of the things that when he passed, our family decided, for people if they wish to make a donation at the time, he was always concerned about kids being taken care of medically. And so St. Jude's Hospital is one of his areas of that we asked people donate to, and the other was the Red Hook Little League that my brother and I were so fortunate to play in. Many other of our friends that are we grew up with, and still, and so there was about $5,100 that was donated from people, and people that my brother knew, my sister knew, that I knew, and
respected your
family,
father.
and so they're having a dedication on Saturday, the 23rd of April in the morning. That
at the ball field.
At the ball field. I don't know if people are familiar. If you know where I'm talking about, it's kind of across the street from the high school.
What I do remember, Kevin, is when I played JC Little League All-Stars, I think we played at Red Hook. It was a beautiful ballpark, if I recall. It's gorgeous. And that's many, many, many years ago, so imagine what it's like today.
So that is, that's where I grew up, and it was, great small town living. That's
pretty damn affluent, that area now, is it not, Red Hook?
Yeah, and a lot of it in both Red Hook and Rhinebeck were a lot of IBM employees and families there. And, when IBM started to move people down to the Carolinas or out to Colorado or down to Florida, the community lost a lot of individuals.
Or Vermont, they actually
built Vermont, yes.
And then they closed it down.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So,
yep.
And, IBM, I've been moved.
Yeah, so my mom was a school teacher, and my father worked at IBM, and
those are two good professions. IBM, and my dad was an IBMer, and what a great place. I mean, the insurance, the benefits that they gave, because IBM had no union at the time.
Right.
I don't know if it still does.
I don't know if it does either, but I know that my father would say, for today's IBMers that kind of complain that they didn't have some of the things that the older ones, he goes, listen, for the last 25 years, you haven't been paying, into your medical plan.
Right.
Hopefully you've used that money to prepare for a time when...
that sounds like my dad.
But
was that the great generation?
It's funny you say that, Don.
The greatest generation.
The greatest generation. A good friend of mine that we grew up with, and another friend from Red Hook, we're all diehard Met fans. So
am I, Kevin. That's a good year for us.
Yes, it is. So we...
God bless Steve Cohen.
Yeah, thank God.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So we text quite a bit, and so I sent to Jim, who now lives in Tennessee, that one of the other members of the St. Chris Church that involved with had passed away week and a half ago, and he had a daughter that we graduated high school with, and he said that. He goes, another member of the greatest generation.
And you know something? My son, who now is 30, when he was growing up, later, I made him, the two of us watched Band of Brothers. What a remarkable series, which really, I mean, we don't realize what our parents went through.
Yeah.
And I know that this is an overused, and some people would say is a very tired statement, but they literally made sacrifices, putting their lives, not just at risk, many, many people were dying, or horribly injured, so we could enjoy the freedoms we have today. That I don't want to sound like get off of my lawn or whatever that old saying is, but the younger people today don't have a clue. Now California, I understand, they want 4-day work weeks. 4-day work week, you know?
What do you think, that's about money or something? That
I think it's about being pampered. I mean, I hate to say, and we're the cause of it. I could remember, Kevin, when I was district attorney or chief assistant, I don't recall, I would go out a lot to lecture. And I can remember many times being in front of various civic groups. I used to come and do the Lions Lunch frequently, and I would say what we have lost in our way of life, our culture, is number one, sacrifice and humility, and number two, we spend too much time at work. All we do is work, and we forget them. Now, as I'm saying this, I didn't do real prepared remarks. I would outline. As I'm saying this, I'm realizing it's a Sunday night. You hypocrite. Here I am telling people we need to spend more time with our kids instead of planting them in front of a computer or a cell phone or TV. And I was the worst offender. I was out all the time. But that was the greatest generation. I mean, there were many, many ills.
Yes.
Prejudice and racism
certainly
was tough back then. It was difficult. And women's rights were dramatically different. For a woman to work, back when I was a young kid, my mom did real estate. That was a hard thing for a woman to do. So there were bad things too, but I just wish we worked so hard to give our kids the things we didn't have. And I'm sure my parents did also.
Right.
But I think as a result of that, our kids generically, I mean, my kids, I'm very lucky, but our kids generically have become a little pampered. Now, after COVID, they don't want to go back. Sometimes you can do that, but it's good to get your rear end into work.
In our son Stephen, who's Colin's age, they live and work down in Towson, Maryland, just outside of Baltimore. And Stephen misses, because they're still on a week on or 3 days on and 3 days at home or 2 days at home, that sort of routine. And, and he misses it when he's not with
people
that his fellow employers that
you can get into a rut. For me, after 40 years of working maybe 6.5 days a week, early morning, late at night, it's what I wanted to do. The people who made the sacrifices were my family.
Yeah.
But I thought I was sacrificing. No, I chose that. They didn't, but they were very supportive. But the one thing, as soon as I retired cold turkey. I wasn't necessarily planning on retire, although mandatory retirement was coming up soon.
Right.
But suddenly you don't know what to do with yourself. Kevin, I just got the finger from Lawrence. 1 minute.
1 minute left, huh?
So
Time flies.
Anything in particular you want to leave us with?
Well, I'm just going to, the 15th is a big day in the world of baseball with Jackie Robinson Day, and what an impact he had on the baseball world and actually the world. And it's also this weekend, as a Met fan, they're going to unveil the statue for Tom Seaver, who was my favorite player of all time, and so it's a good weekend in baseball and a good weekend in New York Met history, and people out there, if you're a 501c3 and you're looking to get some funding for a piece of equipment that you don't currently have, that's not operational, please go online to lionsclub.com and our application, our form is on there for people to fill out and submit to the Lions, and we'll be happy to review it, and if we feel it meets the criteria, we will help support your project.
All right. Again, Kevin Gilfeather, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a
good
pleasure
to see
seeing you.
Thanks, Don.
Reminiscing is good, and
good
luck with the Lions Club and everything in your family.
Thank you. Thanks. Be well.
All right, so we're going to take a break, and then we'll be back with Miriam Gibbons and birthdays.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed, support causes that matter, change lives, change communities, change the world. Visit lionsclubs.org to learn more.
At Central Hudson, safety is our highest priority. That's why we ask you to keep a clear path to electric and gas meters and eliminate all obstructions, including snow, ice, vegetation overgrowth, storage boxes, garbage, or any other kind of debris. Access to meters is important for safety inspections too, and failing to provide access can result in fines. For more information, visit the safety section of centralhudson.com.
This is the story of Daniel, who was born 2 months early. His lungs weren't ready. His heart wasn't ready. His parents could only hope that one day he would leave the hospital healthy, and they would all live happily ever after. Daniel's is just one of the more than 500,000 stories of babies born prematurely last year. You can help the March of Dimes stop premature birth and bring more babies home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.com. Working together for stronger, healthier babies.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
On top of first-class care, you will never receive a bill. The only thing we had to worry about was just keeping Azalea comfortable. St. Jude saved her life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
To battle is to fight, to struggle, to overcome, and ultimately for the Marine Corps, it means to win. There is no alternative. It's not just a statement of intent. It's a promise to our nation. A promise kept for more than 2 centuries. A promise of the Marines.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
A powerful community bank is one that has leaders that are involved in their community. At Rondout Savings Bank, they invest in the success of our community by working side by side with local people and local businesses. When you choose to bank Rondout, you are part of a bank that is dedicated to the future of your success and the success of your community. Rondout Savings welcomes you to open an account today and discover what it means to be part of a powerful community bank, one that knows you by name. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and our community, with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park, also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
It's set. Okay, we are back.
Go ahead, Lawrence.
You want to do our birthdays before we introduce
you want to
our
do this
next
first?
guest? Or do we have any?
That's for you.
Why don't you do Oh, how good is that?
I know Miriam she come bearing gifts this morning.
Absolutely. Puriclean, is that John Beaver?
John Beaver, Sean
Good guy.
McDermott.
Sean McDermott.
Yep, and Andrew Rankle, 3 owners.
I don't know if I know Andrew.
He's from Wappingers Falls.
Okay, no Sean McDermott. Marion Gibbons, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
My pleasure.
And you came with the Puriclean shirt.
I did.
Sounds good. You used to be with Safeco, now
Yep.
Puriclean?
I'm 7 years.
Really?
7
John
years.
Beaver's a good guy. And
Excellent.
Sean McDermott was a detective first
Yes.
for the Kingston Police Department. Great cop.
Super.
Bright guy, made a good witness, came prepared.
Yep.
I think that was principally I dealt with Sean when I was district attorney and assistant. Although I think he also appeared occasionally in front of me when I was a judge. But good people.
Excellent people.
What is Puriclean exactly? I know
So-
Beaver has told me many times.
So we are the paramedics of property damage.
How good is this? Now, did you create that yourself?
No, I did not. That is our tagline. I did not create it. It was there.
Paramedics of property damage.
So we.
Oh, God. Let me.
No, help yourself.
Today's Thursday. How about we do how about we have Marion read it?
There you go. Okay, well, we have birthdays, and we have Linda Crookston, who is celebrating a birthday today, and she is our birthday winner, and she is going to receive a famous cow pie from Boyce's Dairy Milkhouse, and thanks to Kingston Community Radio.
Now, you know, Marion, I did that for two reasons. Number one, you've got a great radio voice.
Oh, thank you.
And number two, because I couldn't find my glasses at the time, so I couldn't read it. But thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'm here to help any way I can.
Thank you. So, and you're here on behalf of not PureClean today, just the PureClean shirt.
I'm the face of PureClean, so and the voice. But I also am very involved in the community, and I'm here today to talk about the Kiwanis Kingston Classic.
Fantastic. Oh, first of all, the Classic has been in existence. I'm going to test you. I don't mean to put you on the spot. It's been a long time.
If we didn't have any delays, we would be celebrating our 40th.
I knew it was a long time. What a great thing.
Now, we have not been doing it for 40 years.
Okay. So it wasn't called the Kiwanis Classic.
It was called the Kingston Classic, okay. And a group of businessmen started it, runners, whatnot, and things have their time, so to speak.
Sure.
And
they evolve.
And they had done it for 30 years and 28, I think. And they were done. They were just tired. But they didn't want it to end. So they approached us to take it over.
How long ago was that, if you recall?
It's going to be, I want to say it's like 10 years. I've been the volunteer chair for 10, but it was probably 12 years ago because obviously with COVID, last year we ran the race virtually, but with COVID we didn't run it at all during the year when everything shut down.
How do you run it virtually?
So basically people sign up and there are apps that they can put on their phones, and if they have a smartwatch or a Fitbit or one of the they can actually start it when they start running, and it keeps track of it on their phone, and then they submit their information.
But they all run the same route.
Yes.
Okay.
So the
Do
route
they
is
run
already.
it at the same time?
No, you could run it.
Because you're too crowded.
Right. When it's virtual, they can run it any time. So usually there's a time window, whether it's within a week or several days and whatnot. So you have people running it at different times. And it was great that we were able to do it last year virtually, but it's not the same. Not the same at all.
There were crowds, I recall, when the Classic was running.
I remember, so I've lived in Kingston. Well, I've been in the area since I was 10. I don't want to tell you how old I am.
So you've been here 10 years?
Yeah, okay, maybe 20. But when I moved to Kingston, and I bought my house in 1987, they used to run out Albany Avenue. And I remember standing on the corner cheering on the runners, and they used to run out Albany Avenue down Manor and whatnot. And I remember, what's going on? Where are all these people running? But I'm not a runner. If I'm running, you better start running because something's chasing me. That's all I'm going to say.
Exactly.
I'm not, I don't love it. I don't like it. I'm not a runner, but I do support it. So in the race, there's a 10-mile, a 5-mile, a 10K, a 5K, and a 1.5-mile race.
And a kilometer is a little less than a mile?
Yes. So we have 3 races.
Is it kilometer or kilometer? Kilometer.
Kilometer, yep. And so there's 3 races. The races start at 10 o'clock, and people can go to Kiwanis Kingston Classic and sign up. We currently have over 400 runners, which
And you got some nationally world-renowned runners, if I recall.
At one point, we had partnered with somebody, and they were involved, very highly involved in the runner world. And we were actually, when we held it in Uptown Kingston, because we've moved it from uptown to downtown, and we just had to move it again. We had to redo it. It was a qualifier race for the Boston Marathon and some of these big races. So people came to Kingston to get qualified for some of these bigger races.
Now it's no longer a qualifier? or-
Well, we used to do, like I said, when there were a couple years we partnered with somebody, there was a marathon and a half marathon.
Okay.
And that was really tough. I had needed over 170 volunteers, and people had to show up at 5 a.m. because to run a marathon takes hours. And so they had to, be out on the
Lawrence
trails.
requires me to come in at 5. You could hear in the background, yeah, right.
So this year we had to change the race because the old Port Ewan Bridge is closed.
That's right.
So
That's correct.
they used to run through downtown, over the bridge, and where the frozen rainbow was the turnaround point.
Great burgers.
Yep, and they used to turn around and come back. We had a lot of street closures. We still needed a lot of volunteers. It was a great event, but then when the bridge started to fall apart.
So that's what they're doing there, because I see the construction. I go down to Armadillo once
Yep.
in a while. Great place.
Yep.
So it's the bridge they're repairing?
They're repairing the bridge.
That
Well,
bridge
parts
is
of the bridge
ancient.
had fallen down. So if you're down on the Strand and you take that walkway by the, right along the creek, the Rondout Creek, right under the bridge, parts of the bridge had fallen.
See,
So
I
we
think
didn't
it's
want
time
anybody,
for repair.
right, it definitely needs to be repaired. And so we didn't want anybody getting hurt.
No.
So then we ran the race, we changed it and ran part through down that way, but kept them away from the bridge. That was a quick last-minute decision because literally, like the week before, they closed the bridge. This year, because of the bridge construction, we tried to make a path that made more sense. So basically, they run from downtown. Start is by Old Savannah,
Okay.
and they're going to run down East Strand, and they're going to go up by the children's home
Yes.
and run through that neighborhood, come down north Delaware. They're going to cross over, and this year they're running through the Hutton Brickyards. So there's a path. There's a rail trail.
Oh, okay.
And
There's a rail trail there? Wow.
Well, part of it is paved. So they're going to run that, which is really nice. So they're going to have beautiful views of the Hudson River, and then they're going to turn around, they're going to come back, go down Delaware Avenue, and they're going to come back through Rotary Park and on the rail trail there.
And what's
So,
the distance now that they do?
well, there's a 10K, a
Oh, okay.
5K, and a 1.5. So depending on where, if they're doing the 10K, they're going to go all the way out on the Hutton Brickyard Rail Trail, then they're going to come back through Rotary Park and come back into the Strand.
And a marathon would be, what, 26 miles?
26, yeah, 26 and a half, I
How
think
can
it is.
people do that? I
Well, we
can't
don't-
walk 26 miles
Oh, sure you can. Just do it slowly.
over days, maybe, yeah.
I don't know, I'm trying to think. I've never walked a marathon.
26 miles.
I've walked a lot. When I was in Ireland, I walked a lot of miles.
You look a little Irish.
Uh,
What was your maiden name, Marion?
Osius. I'm not,
Osius sounds
but
Irish.
I'm not Irish at all. I'm Russian, Romanian, German, and Polish. I was put in the
Did
melting
you
pot
do
and
that?
stirred.
Did you do a check? Well, most of us in America are.
Well, no, I know where my great-grandparents came from.
I
I've never had my DNA done
I
because,
have to do that.
Yeah,
I
I-
know my mom was 100% Italian, or I believe, and my dad was Irish and Welsh.
well, my husband is Irish and German. But, yeah, I know where my ancestors came from. So, although,
How much?
who knows?
How much Russian? Do you know what the percentages are?
The most of anything I am, believe it or not, is German. I'm like 1/8 Russian.
And whereabouts in Russia?
Well,
I have a real attraction for Russia.
that I would
Unfortunately,
have to go
today
back.
is
That I
different.
don't know, but I'm the most of anything is, believe it or not, is Polish, and my grandfather and grandmother on both my parents' side, so on both, came from the same town, Bialystok.
Do they meet?
No, didn't know each other.
That's hysterical. How do they meet?
My parents got married.
That'll do it.
or eloped and got married. So back in the day. So yeah, but no, it's a huge event. We have the sponsors have been.
I was about to say. So when is the classic this
the
year?
classic is the 24th
Of April.
of April. You
What
can.
is that? A Sunday?
It's a Sunday. and you can sign up that day. So there are a lot of runners that wait to see what the weather is.
Don't look at me and say you can sign up.
One.
Perhaps you can say one can sign
we
up.
we like to. One of the things that when we were brought the Classic, they had a different vision than we did, and they used to pay out. They used to pay, and so people would come in because you're a good runner and you're fast and whatnot. And obviously, it was a qualifying race. Then they could make some money. I mean, and they paid out. I think, and don't quote me on this, anybody, but it was thousands of dollars.
I recall for some reason $10,000 is
in prize money. And the thing is we said we're a nonprofit, and that's not our vision. Our vision is to bring it to the community. So. We changed that.
Quanta's a great
So
organization.
we do give awards out and whatnot, and really the true runners want to win in their age category, and things of that nature. They're not necessarily looking for
You
a
have
five.
an over the 100 category that I could run with?
I can tell you, we've had people that there was a gentleman that was in his late 70s that ran.
That is amazing.
And some of you'd be really impressed by the runners. They're not, but we put in the 1.5 mile, and we called that the family fun run. Because parents could run with their children.
Kids, sure.
Yep. And that's what we're all about. Kiwanis is all about, children and whatnot. And our tagline is changing a community one child at a time. So that's where and the nice thing about Kiwanis is, while we are an international organization, any money that we raise stays local in the community. It doesn't go out to fund somebody else. It's not paying big wages. Everybody's a volunteer, and it's amazing. What we can accomplish. Obviously, with COVID and just like the other nonprofits, it was really hard. Most of everybody's fundraiser was shut down. We also do the Kiwanis Capers.
Oh, yes. Some of my good friends, Dr. Corsones, I remember I never quite could look Jim in the eye the same, even though I played ball with Jim when he was a kid, and he was my primary care physician before he became a hospitalist. But the one Kiwanis Capers that I went to when he had the pantyhose on, it just changed my perspective of Jim completely. Today, it probably should be the right thing to do. All men should wear Joe Namath type pantyhose.
Let's put it this way: we make fun of everybody, and we make fun of
Neil
ourselves.
Patrick and his dad.
Oh, yep. Well, I used to go to Capers long ago, and then when I got a Kiwanis scholarship when I graduated high school back in the day.
Good for you. Yeah, I can recall this.
And back then, it used to be 3 scholarships, and.
You went to Kingston High School?
I went to Kingston High School.
Great place.
And loved it. We're about to have our 45th reunion, our class. Now I'm dating myself, but oh well. But we have so much fun. We have one
20s isn't going to work.
We have one every 5 years. We have so much fun.
It's funny. My class, which was the class of 71, it's kind of dissipated.
Right.
So we can't seem to have the last reunion was during COVID, so that was a negative. But
well, my mother went to Kingston High.
Really?
And she was going to, unfortunately, she's about to turn 91. There's not many people left.
No.
So those days are gone, but she was going to her, believe it or not, college reunions. And
I have never attended a law school or college reunion, believe it or not, never.
I haven't either.
College and law school was a vehicle to just get out and work.
Well,
high school's different.
I'm still friends with a lot of my college cronies, but we all graduated different years. So
that makes it
if
more
there was
Right.
for me to go, while I might know somebody, they're not people I've kept in touch with. And whatnot. But I am still friends with several people, which is nice. And of course, thank goodness for Facebook, because that's how we found each other again.
Yeah, I'm not a big Facebook fan. I am doing a little bit more Facebook now, but I'm not a big Facebook fan.
I use it
for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I use it more for the events that I'm doing or I'm involved in, the organizations I work for, things of that nature.
Yes.
But
and it's a
I've
great
been
vehicle
able,
for that.
Yep, I've been able to connect. I found some of my husband's relatives in Ireland.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that Facebook is worldwide.
Oh, yeah. So, connected with some relatives in that respect. So it's kind of neat, when they're far away. And I suppose if I, did my DNA and all that, I would find out a lot of
I
information.
really
that
should do that.
I don't have enough hours in the day.
I've had DNA done, but for medical purposes, not yet.
Yeah, I there's not enough hours in the day for all the things I want to do, let's face it.
You know something, and it's so funny. Now being retired, I have too many hours in the day.
Do you really, though?
Yeah, well, I mean, I retired in the midst of COVID,
Oh.
so I was going to be traveling. I would, if I took 1 week vacation a year, it was a lot for me.
Right.
Back then, most of the time as a judge, I would not take
Right.
any. But traveling was something I always wanted to do, and just, COVID takes a chunk out of you.
I haven't traveled. Well, I shouldn't say that. I traveled. Last year, I went to a convention in Florida, and that was the first time I had traveled in.
Yeah, Florida's not traveling. Traveling.
Well, and it was work.
It's out of all.
So it wasn't a vacation. I mean, not that I didn't have some good time moments and things of that nature. But I haven't. During COVID, my daughter turned 30, and we rented a house in the Berkshires, and so we sort of, everybody was,
Together. It's the only people you could be together.
And we were in the middle of nowhere, and and we did nothing. There was no, Wi-Fi. We all left our phones in the house and whatnot, and we were outside every day. It was great.
Oh,
But
that's
again,
nice.
I love to travel, so I missed out on a trip to Ireland. I missed out, or 2 trips, because I try to go to Ireland once a year.
Now, the owner of Garvin's in New Paltz, have
Yep.
you ever been there?
Oh, I love Garvin's. He is amazing.
He and his wife, he takes trips to Ireland.
So, in one of my many hats, yes, he does. I work for part-time for a company called Destinations Ireland and Beyond. So I actually met the owners of that company when I worked at Safeco.
Okay.
I walked into their house to talk to them about alarms, and I knock on the door, and this very Irish brogue says, "Come on in." And I walked in, and I said, "Oh my gosh, you're Irish." And he said, "Yes, how could you tell?" And I was like, with a name like Declan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I started working for them. I've sent people on golf trips, because
Now,
they also...
Do they work with Garvin on that, or he does that on his own?
He has a lot of family and whatnot. I've reached out to him and whatnot. But
he's
got family, and he's been all over, and it's
he keeps
funny.
trying to get me to go, and
You need to go.
that would be
See-
to go on a trip and have him a part of it would be a blast.
The chamber just had a trip. The Ulster County Regional Chamber
Really?
of Commerce.
Where'd
Mhm.
Todd go?
Yep.
He's a special guy.
Yes, he is. He's wonderful. But I've been to Ireland 4 times. I have one of my closest
so you
friends.
do travel?
Oh,
You
I
travel
do.
Ireland, okay.
Oh, yeah. And if I have my way, when I retire, I'd retire there.
It's funny because for such a long time, Ireland was literally depressed.
Yes.
And now it's a thriving
Yes.
nation.
It's amazing. And the people are, you're standing on a corner in Dublin going, which way do I go? And somebody walks up and says, do you need help?
Well, they like Americans, do they not?
They do. They love us.
How nice
But
is
I'm just
that?
saying is if in New York, you were in New York City and you're standing on a corner going, which way do I go? People walk around you,
Oh.
which is unfortunate.
You could be lying, writhing in pain.
Well, I didn't want to go there, but yes.
So I am not fond of New York City. I mean, it has great
Restaurants, theater.
But I am not, especially now. When Rudy Giuliani came in, and he really, and I'm not a big Rudy Giuliani fan.
Yep.
Not for many reasons before he became mayor.
Correct.
His being a U.S. attorney, but he really did clean that city up.
Yep.
He didn't cure the issues.
No.
He moved them north.
Yes.
To us.
Yes. Totally, yeah. Yes,
But New York-
unfortunately. I grew, my grandparents lived in New York City, so I had been going to New York City since birth. I actually went to school in New York City 2 years. I went to fashion FIT. But so there was always a piece of me that's kind of home. I haven't been in the city in years.
Especially now with de Blasio and what he did to the city.
It's just like the world has changed, and I think COVID changed all that.
You know something
Unfortunately.
that's very generous of you.
Yep.
To say it's COVID. I blame it more on people like de Blasio.
Well, I like to remember the good times. You know what I mean?
Well, I did travel in New York City occasionally as DA.
Right.
Not frequently, occasionally, and it really is wonderful, everything that it has to offer.
Yes.
But it is no longer a safe city. It was safe for...
Look at what just happened.
Yeah, and that's easy for me now to say because of...
Right, but
recency.
I
think it has not been a safe city for a while.
But I think people are just afraid. Like I said, when we were in... I've been to Ireland 4 times. I was in Dublin, and I don't care where you go, or there's always good sections and bad sections.
That's true.
I never felt uneasy.
In the city?
When I was in Ireland.
Oh.
And I went to the different cities. I was in cities. I was in Belfast. Can tell you that was very different and odd. While there's still no conflict, there's an underlying conflict that you will always feel. And I'm not Irish, you know what I mean? But I remember when my son graduated college and I sent him, he went to England, Scotland, and Ireland. And when he hit Belfast, they had finally put the garbage cans back on the streets because they used to blow them up regularly. So, things like that. But I never felt, when you talk about travel, my son went to Germany. And he said, when you're walking in front of the Holocaust Museum and there's people with submachine guns.
Yeah.
And things of that. I've never, other than the Dominican, I never experienced anything like that.
I was in Dominican. People were wonderful, but I was on a resort.
And they said, don't leave the resort.
Something that's funny. I was in part of the Dominican at the time that it was safe to leave the resort, but you had to stay within the confines of that particular area. If
Right.
you went else, I'm getting that from the taxi cab drivers,
Right.
but still, the people were marvelous, and I think that's such a nice thing.
Right.
Because here we are, I'm not rich, but we were the rich Americans compared to the way so many Dominicans lived.
We took the cab from the airport to our resort. It was amazing what you passed and heartbreaking at the same time. But I love to travel and whatnot, and I'm hoping to start doing that again when the world is a safe place to do that.
My boss, Lawrence, just told me that we have 1 minute left. Marion, so what would you like to leave us with?
I'm just going to leave you with, if you're a runner, April 24th, Kiwanis Kingston Classic. We also are looking for volunteers. We always need an extra pair of hands. There is a tab there. You can go and volunteer, and we would love to have you come work with us. And we'd love to have you join Kiwanis. What are you doing now that you're retired?
I used to speak.
If he joins anything, he's joining Lions.
I knew I would get a rise out of you.
And we just had Kevin Gilfeather on.
I know, I heard the Lions.
Yeah,
I heard the Lions.
When you were coming on to talk about the Kingston Classic, that Kiwanis does that.
I should contemplate that. I really should.
Like I said,
I have some health
You're going to have
issues.
to get on stage, Judge, and dance and stuff.
I'm not wearing pantyhose.
Okay.
Unless it's over my head.
we could arrange
gosh, that
that.
was the wrong thing to say.
Yeah, that's true too. But you know what? Well, this year, come sign up for Capers because come out.
I will come and watch Capers.
Come watch Capers. It's awesome.
Miriam, thank you for coming in this morning. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
That was good to see you. We'll be back in a few, folks.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Around any bend in any road, any time of the day or night, Central Hudson crews can be found working in the Hudson Valley. From Montgomery to Millerton, Freehold to Fishkill, and many points in between. We mark our work zones for safety's sake. As a driver, you can do your part too. Slow down, pay attention, put down the phone, and obey the flaggers. Be prepared to stop, and maintain a safe distance from the vehicle in front of you. Safety matters.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans by connecting them with fellow warriors, by serving them through mental health and wellness programs, and by empowering them to live on their own terms. No one should face a battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, let's go, Brandon.
You are definitely getting kicked off of YouTube.
I'm allowed to say that. Yeah,
it does say stay tuned, though.
Yeah, no, I'm going to switch it right now.
All right. Good afternoon and good morning, I should say. It feels like afternoon, but good morning. This is Donald Williams, and lucky enough to have somebody who we go back quite some time.
Yes, sir, we do. Yeah.
We have Chief Jid Tinty from the Kingston Police Department. Jid was kind enough to come in on short notice, and had you once before. We had a good time. I probably gave you maybe 30 seconds to talk.
No, it was great. It was awesome.
But a good time. And again, Jid, thank you so much for coming in.
I'm honored to be here.
Before I start asking some of the questions about recent developments, anything you want to start with?
No, sir. No, we're good. We've made some internally the department some promotions.
Anybody I know?
I'll give out the names. So we have Deputy Chief Michael Bonds took the place of John Wallace.
I didn't know John left.
Oh yeah, retired. Yeah.
John's been retired a while.
No, he was. I believe it was 2000. He got promoted to deputy chief. It was when Paul Watzka went over to Ulster as chief.
Right.
Got vacated the position.
Watzka was excellent.
So John Wallace took that position. So Mike Bonds is now deputy chief, and we have 3 lieutenants assigned to the patrol shift: Ernie Osterhout.
Oh, sure.
Ricky Negron. And
Negron's brilliant.
Anthony Nino Burkert. So those are the 3 patrol. Sharp guys, all sharp.
And as you know, no matter how good you may be as a leader, you've got to have good people.
You've got to have the team, absolutely. And
the whole team, but especially the people that really kind of represent you. And those are good people.
And then overseeing the detective division is Pat Bono. He was a patrol lieutenant for a while.
I remember Officer Bono well. Another bright guy. Came to court prepared.
Oh yeah, sharp.
Those are good people. Good for you. Good.
Yeah. So then, with that, the promotions for a sergeant, and I think we have 9 patrol sergeants, 1 detective sergeant. But we're down a couple of positions yet that we have to backfill. And
why are you down?
There's a couple of factors. One, the civil service list doesn't have officer candidates that are either officers or trained as officers. So we would need to send them to the police academy. So when it comes to making sense economically for the city, at least financially, we're going to hold off on the positions until maybe a month before the academy starts. Because if we hire someone, they're just going to sit around. They're going to sit dispatch. We really don't need them in that capacity. So now we're paying salary unnecessarily.
For somebody to sit as a dispatcher.
Yeah.
Dispatchers, I take it.
Which is different than when I came on. In 1992, I had no police academy. I had no police academy experience. No, I wasn't a cop. I didn't take criminal justice. 92 I came on. Yeah. So I
used to participate in doing the municipal police training, but I don't remember how far that goes back.
Yeah, the academy, it was the Kingston Police Academy back in 1992. Okay. It was the first class that Ralph Appa, he was a sergeant there.
Ralph Appa,
Yep.
well.
So he was the trained sergeant, and it was also John Lima.
I remember John. John Lima was with the sheriff, said it differently.
Yes, that's correct. Okay. That's correct. Yep. So they ran it, and so in 92, the, I forgot where just gone, just right out of my head.
Well,
where we're going with it, but either way, it'll come back around, it'll circle back around, it's still up there floating around.
You're saying 92, that's when you first.
Right, so when I first started, they put me on the street with 2 days of training. At the time, it was Lieutenant Keller, Jerry Keller. He talked about Article 35, handcuffing.
Which is self-defense justification.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I went to the range. I was a pistol shooter anyway, so I did well on the range, and they gave me a gun, a uniform, a badge, get on the street, and I rode my first day with Wayne Maish. And
it's also good.
Solid officer. And so I had no idea what I was doing. Like, honestly, no idea.
It's frightening. But Kingston Police tomorrow always, was Riggins chief at the time?
Yes, he was, yeah.
Jim Riggins was tough chief.
Yeah, he was tough.
I've forgotten, Larry Whitehurst, we talked about that last time, and that's when I first really met you.
Yes, that's correct.
You had the fickle finger of fate of being assigned to me.
I won't lie, I know we go back. I'm like, man, this guy's crazy. Look at the detail he's looking for on this stuff. And you were. I still to this day, and you heard me say it last time, you set the standard. Crossing the T's, dotting the I's, the apostrophes. And thankfully, I consider myself pretty good with grammar, so I was, but you'd come in, you go, who wrote this report? Like, I'm supposed to introduce this? Like, I didn't write it. Like, well, you got to fix it. Like, so I went back, and I was just a case manager at that point. I wasn't even a detective.
And the fear is, about that with reports, and discovery is far worse now.
Apple Defender's Office.
The fear is when a police officer does a report. You guys should be on the streets, and you want to be on the streets, yet you have to do so much damn paperwork. However, when the paperwork is done, it has to be done right. And the reason is, Jed, you touched on it, a DA can't offer a police report. It's hearsay unless you can establish an exception to the hearsay rule, but a report cannot be offered by the district attorney. However, that report can be used to cross-examine the officer, and then it can be offered by the defense. So if there are inconsistencies, a good defense attorney can make a mountain out of, and if there are a series of inconsistencies with different officers, it's not so much that the jury will think you're lying.
Right.
It's they're thinking you're sloppy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And jurors have the most difficult job out of everyone in the system because they don't, when they see these young defendants, typically young, they don't know about their backgrounds. They typically don't get to know about criminal histories. They see somebody cleaned up. Mm-hmm. They don't get to see the mugshots at the time they committed the crime. They see somebody cleaned up in a shirt and tie or jacket and tie, looking like it could be their son, their daughter, their grandson, their granddaughter. The prosecutors are not allowed, with certain exceptions, to bring out prior criminal records. I remember I tried somebody on a sexual abuse. He had 3 prior sexual abuse convictions. The jury convicted him, but they did not get to hear about the priors, and that's tough. So, if they're sitting there thinking, I'm going to be sending this young man that could be my son away to horrible state prison, and I see the movies on TV, The Shawshank Redemption, what happens to these poor young people, and he could be my son. I'm sending him away, and I'm sending him based upon police officers that can't take the time. So, and it's funny, I never considered myself a detail guy.
Ooh. Let me tell you, firsthand, I saw that, and you were the reason, and I said your name a few times. No, not like that, not like that.
My name used to be Betcha.
So I was very fortunate to be kind of pulled into the police training atmosphere. I like that. When I was in the academy, I said, boy, I'd like to go into this. And so I became academy director. So the progression was Sergeant at the time, Ralph Appa, then Lieutenant Ralph Appa, then Sergeant John Schatzel.
Right.
And Lieutenant John Schatzel.
John Schatzel was a break guy, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And detail-oriented.
Yeah.
I mean, when he came in a room, he was sharp, he was well-spoken. I mean, and then on top of that, I worked under both of them, and then ultimately got the ability to kind of oversee the academy. And it really was because of our interactions, and really seeing how we,
Oh, you
the
mean
cops,
when you worked?
Absolutely. When looking at the cases and the detail you were looking for, and the way you examined the two reports and said, "Wait a minute, what happened? Why is this not here? What happened here?" They were working together. Why does this officer not have this information on his report? And so there was a lot of that. And so I would make sure that the recruits coming through the academy were always focused on detail, always. And right from the first day, I'd call one of them up onto the chalkboard, at the time chalkboard, and say, singular, plural, possessive. What's the difference? Show me. And it was to the point where I was on them about, the IT apostrophe S for, it was just like, and people thought I was crazy. And I was like, you haven't worked under Don Williams. You don't understand the necessity to be detailed oriented, And
if you're going to do the report, if you do it, take time to do it, even if you have to take it at home. And I mean, that's hard and it's easy for somebody like an assistant DA that was sitting back in the warm confines of their office to critique after the fact. But it was mainly, the most important thing, Jed, was when they take the stand, they don't look foolish, because it can be embarrassing. Yes. I recall we used to do seminars when I was an assistant district attorney and DA. And I had a very good friend who was with the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, New York State Police, one of the most famed organizations in at least the state, if not the nation. And at that time, I was trying to convince, I don't know if you recall, I was DA. I was trying to convince the state police and police departments to tape record statements made by defendants. You guys jumped on board. The Kingston Police Department, I could not get the state police to do it. You have to record the statements. And the answer would be, yeah, that's just because you want your case on a silver platter. I said, no. Of course you do, but it's not that so much. It's what's going to happen to you when you take the stand and a defense attorney has a field day asking you why you didn't attempt to record it. And it was falling upon deaf ears, with the state police especially. So finally I said, that's enough. I said, so I called to the stand during a seminar up at the courthouse. It had to be 150, all police officers, chiefs. I won't mention his name. It was Craig Bremer, who was a great cop. Craig and I worked when I was a young assistant on the North American Man-Boy Love Association defendants that ended up sexually abusing 12 young kids. And he was a great investigator. But I knew Craig well. I knew what a good witness and a good cop. I asked him to take a stand, and I gave a sample cross-examination of an investigator from the BCI of what it would be like if you do not attempt to record a statement, and then you go to trial and you're trying to convince the jury that a statement made by a defendant is an accurate one and an honest one. It was not pretty. I bet. And Craig didn't speak to me for 3 years.
Is that right?
But what happens is, and now after that, Craig and I got close again, but I felt somebody you know, somebody that's respected, and suddenly statements started being recorded, and it had to be that. But I can remember with Tom Scarry, who was a great detective, good friend, and getting Tom ready for a trial. It was a case at Broadway East Apartments. It was a crack case. And Tom, it was a search warrant. Tom was assigned outside on the ground of the second floor apartment window. And he was to watch to see if anything would happen. He happened to see the defendant that he said I can identify him, throw a bag out of the window, fell to the ground, he recovered it, had, I don't know, a pile of crack packets. And he was about to take the stand, and he was going to identify the defendant. And I said, preparing him before trial, I said, how far were you away? And he says, I don't know, 50 feet, 150 feet. I said, well, I want you to know exactly how far you were away. And he goes, well, how in hell am I supposed to? He wouldn't speak to me.
Right.
He said, how am I supposed to do that? I said, well, and now I'm getting a little upset. And I love Tom. He was a great cop. I said, I'll tell you how. You get somebody to go with you now, get permission, put that person up in the apartment window that you saw. You stand where you were. He can take a ball of yarn. I don't know. I don't care how you do it. Throw the yarn out the window to where you were, measure it, and let me know. I want to know exactly. He goes, it's raining out. I said, take an umbrella. So now, this is the day before he's about to testify. He takes the stand, and the defense attorney, I think it was Alan Zweibel, who was a pretty aggressive defense attorney, goes, so you say you can identify my man? Have you ever seen him before? No. And you can sit there today and say you are positive that the person you saw from that window was the individual that you say is in this courtroom today? Yes, I can. Oh, really? Well, how far were you away from him when he threw the crack coke, the alleged crack, out of the window? And he said 77 feet. Oh, 77 feet? You happen to know definitively it was 77 feet? How do you know that? Tom Scary turned to me and he pointed. He goes, because he made me go out in the rain the other day and measure it. And it was... Yeah, but I mean, that's the type of detail that maybe not the I's and the T's. We can get away with that a little bit, but
it all starts there, right? You
and
say it's about sloppy.
It saved him from getting ripped up on the stand. Oh, yeah. And that's how you learn when you get you were good, you were very bright. So we learned together. That was a first experience, first death penalty case in the state.
I learned a lot from you on that side of it, and what we needed to make sure that our reports were solid, that our information was solid when it got delivered. And while it was all going on, a lot of information came to me through Rick Crum, who was a detective.
Yeah, a good guy.
Turk.
All
Rick these Crum, guys were,
Rick Crum, Mike Turk were very detailed guys.
Oriented. Oh yeah, Rick would. I still remember. We all had police notebooks, little notebooks, and he would write down what he had for lunch. And
I didn't think I wanted to know that, because Rick used to eat a lot.
He would, and I would, we'd joke about it, and I'm like, really? And he's like, because if you take the stand, the defense attorney has just the ability to say, well, you have a good memory, right? It happened 4 months ago. And again, I don't even know if it's a possibility, but he felt the need.
Yeah. Well, the thing he probably never had to go that far, but if that is what he needed, to ensure that when he did a report, it was accurate. And there are going to be mistakes, but mistakes can be taken care of. The failure to do something, like the failure to attempt to record it, and I can remember poor Craig Bremer. So now you've been a BCI, and that's one of the greatest organizations in the state. Is that correct, investigator? Well, we pride ourselves on that. You pride yourself on being thorough, yeah. And you're not here to convict an innocent man, definitely not. But no, I'm not. You're here to give the jurors the best form of evidence, the best facts, so they can make the decision. You respect that? Yes, I do. And specifically, in this case, my client is saying that is not everything he told you, what you've just testified to. Yes, I have been told that that's what your client's saying, but it is. Well, it's not your decision, is it, investigator, whether what you said he said is everything he said? That the people that have to make that determination is the jury. Is that correct? Yes. Well, what is the best way for a jury to, now it was much more extensive than that. What is the best way for a jury to determine what actually really happened? I guess the best way, investigator, would be if they could actually be there and watch it, right? He said, sure. And I said, but that can't happen. You can't have people. And he goes, no, I can't. I said, well, is there some other way Is there some other way that they could at least hear, or if not see, what happened? Just not at the state police barracks. I said, have you ever heard, and this was back in the day that there were tape recorders, have you ever heard of a tape recorder? Yes, I have. We didn't, you didn't attempt to tape record this. No, and the reason is what? We didn't have a tape recorder at the barracks. I said, do you have any kids? Yes, I do. Do they have little portable recorders? Yes. Do you have a recorder at your home? Why not use that? Well, we're not permitted to because it's state police. So the state police regulation is that you not introduce a recording so the jurors can make the decision here and not you and not your bosses? No, we don't have them. I said, why don't you have them? He goes, well, we don't. I said, how much is a portable tape recorder? So this is the type of thing that can be avoided, and there's nothing to fear for a police officer. Look, jurors are not stupid. They know if somebody's a murderer and you are investigating a murder of a child or something else, they know that there are going to be times that you're going to be tough with that person. You're going to call them a liar. You're going to confront them with inconsistencies, and you're going to do it hard-nosed. Try to avoid the cursing, but even if you curse, if they hear that, what's there to be afraid of? Let them do it. So the fear is not to try it, because then I can't do a damn thing to protect you for that. So, and I can recall it, but it took that. We had done seminars before. It took that, and then finally, and then I brought a state police rep from New York City who was actually doing recordings. Brought him up for a seminar. Between those two things, recordings started happening much more frequently. Anyway, you guys were on board in the beginning.
Yeah, no, and now we have all three interview rooms are recorded, both video and audio. We wear the body cameras. The officers
and it protects you.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
You're going to get accusations of misconduct.
Yes.
And the best way to protect yourself is to have it recorded. And you know something, Jed, and I don't want to put you in a difficult position. If you're one of the few people, and it's a small percentage, that is a bad cop, that abuses your authority, you should be found out about it. And we did have them. It was rare. Yep. Even with the body cams. There were some officers, a deputy, sheriff, I recall. I looked at the body cam and I said, you treated this man like this? And, it's hard. It's easy for me to say that. I'm not getting spit at. Yeah. I get cursed at, but not spit at.
Yeah, no, we actually, in addition to the use of the body cameras for investigative purposes, and anytime there's use of force, it gets reviewed by the police commission. Our supervisors are required to randomly select a body camera use from the night before on their shift and review it. Just random. Just
you can't do every one of them.
Right.
There's not enough time in the day. But that's a great. I didn't know that. That's I take it that's a protocol you put in.
Yep. The sergeant says review body cam footage from Officer Tinty as per policy or whatever. Or in some cases they'll say officer was counseled on the use of proper or whatever it was. So at least we're doing that, and we have not yet found anything that's been brought to our attention administratively that we've had to correct. It's always been done there. But the young cops, my son, when he went through the academy, it's on their person in the academy. So when they're doing reality-based training, they're hitting the button. They know it's part of their job now.
It becomes routine.
It does.
And it protects the officers. 100%. And I've seen a lot of the results of body cams and tape-recorded statements or recorded statements, and the work is magnificent.
We had one that was reviewed. It was the use of force. And interestingly enough, both officers had body cameras on, and both officers had, when they arrived, their mobile dash cams were on their vehicles. The body cameras, because of the way they're located, most officers wear them about chest high, either side. It's difficult in the center, especially with the winter tie on, but they'll wear them here, somewhere in the chest. And there was one scene where, had they not had the dash cams on, which are automatic, as soon as they activate the lights, they come on, the the suspect at the time, the officers in the report said, he had a broken bottle in his hand. But when the officers got out of the car, you couldn't see that. But as they're pulling up on the cars, you could see the guy snap the bottle, and then when the officers rolled up, he dropped it. So it was interesting that the officers could see it. They wrote it down. Their body cams didn't catch it. Yeah, especially when they're driving, right? The body cams are activated, but all you see is the steering wheel, the dash, and when they get out of the car, the bottle's already gone. But the dash cam caught it. So
now, in Kingston, are all marked units?
Yes.
With dash cams unmarked?
No, we don't have that. We're looking into that now, just for liability more than anything else. Because with the unmarked units, it's the detectives' administration.
Yes.
Normally, they're not first responder vehicles.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking for. But
body cams.
Body cams, yes. Detectives wear them.
And I don't believe the state police has mandated that yet, has it?
They have.
Just recently.
State police are all I don't know about the entire
Dash cams,
state, but I
okay.
know in Troop F they're wearing body cams.
Troop F is this location. All right, I always promise you we only have 4 minutes left. Damn, it goes so quick, Jid. Next time, and I know you had to cancel some things.
No, actually, it worked out well.
Next time I'm going to get you on longer. But bail reform.
Bail reform.
I don't want to put you in a difficult spot.
Very interesting.
But at the same point, can you tell me, has it impacted? I know how it's impacted in the state. I know the numbers. It depends upon what media source you go to, because the numbers get played with. But have you seen it impacting you here in the city of Kingston?
It has, as far as the way we dealt with individuals, certain individuals. And I'll give you the short story on it. That we know that there's individuals out there that are in possession of guns, that are violent offenders. We can't develop a case good enough to get them on the gun charge. But we also know individuals that carry guns are dealing drugs, so we can get them on the drug charge, and we have. The problem is, once they're charged with drugs...
Mandated release.
So in the past, we were able to charge them and hold them, and then ultimately affect the reduction in violence because they're not on the street anymore.
That's one of the things, not just with bail reform, which is it's mandated. No matter how many times the person's been convicted of selling drugs or a prior gun conviction, it's mandated the person be released. No, not even setting bail. That is absurd. And it also, Rockefeller drug laws had to be changed, but don't overhaul it, because that is one small example. When you're trying to get into gang violence and gun violence, typically gangs are connected to guns. Typically, gangs are selling drugs to support the gang. And it's hard to get into the gun stuff with the rules, but it's not quite as difficult to get them selling drugs. And that is one way. But if every drug dealer can't be treated the same, there are some people that sell just to support their own habit. They should not be locked up.
Right. Agreed.
Unless it's the 5th time and nothing else has worked. But individuals that are committing violent crimes as a result of the drugs, the drug dealing is supporting it, it's supporting gangs, you need to be able to prosecute those cases aggressively and cause those individuals. And I remember I first took the bench, we took a couple of cases, made examples out of. And the recordings that were occurring at the Ulster County Jail, when the inmates call out, they're told they're recorded.
Yeah.
The guys from the Sheriff's Department brought a couple of them over. And one, Chris Howe, who passed away, Chris played one for me. And it was a guy from Newburgh. Actually, he was from Poughkeepsie. And he was, I'm not going to do the impersonation. That would not sound right. But suffice it to say, my nickname became Judge M.F.er.
Oh, boy.
And he goes, that Judge M.F.er, he is slamming us over here. He goes, I didn't even realize it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it goes quickly. He said, tell the brothers, don't be coming over the Poughkeepsie Bridge, because if you do, you're going to get hit. It's a deterrent. All right.
It is.
Jed, unfortunately, it flew by again. It's good seeing you. Anything you'd like to leave us with quickly?
No, sir. Keep doing what you're doing.
Doing the radio. You keep doing what you're doing. You're a great part of this community, great for law enforcement. And
Trying.
it's a privilege to get to know you, work with you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Jid. We'll get you back. Thanks, sir.
All right, thanks to you guys. Jid, we'll see you Wednesday, right?
Wednesday.
All right, good. Judge, thank you again. Excellent show as always. We'll be back tomorrow with Hugh and Mario. Have a good day, everyone.